Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Welcome. Get you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Watchtower where we talk all things DC. I hope you all are having a good night, a good week. It's been a wild week for sure. But we're here today. We're going to talk DC. Look, we have some information DC-wise. There are some questions, obviously, that people have, but James Gunn has also been a little forward and upfront on some things. He's revealed some information, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But some things that we are going to discuss are there we go. Ah, man, what the heck is going on? That's not what I wanted to do. Sorry about this. Boy. Just things, you know how things go, right? You know how things go around here when you don't do the things that you want to do. Anyways, but who will the villain of Man of Tomorrow be? So we are going to discuss that. But before we do that, I have to figure out what the heck is going on with my login here, because it does not want to work. I was logged into something, it logged me out, and it's not working. For the voicemails, to do the voicemails in a little bit, because I had some of you send voicemails. So let me try and get into this real quick here. I apologize. And let me try one more time, because, that's how things work around here. Nope, still not working. Okay. Anyways, let's go over here. Let's see who's here first. We got Donovan Martin. He says, I have a major wildcard theory as to who I think could be the villain of the Man of Tomorrow. What if it is Manchester Black, who you might remember from, from the Superman vs. Elite movie, and he would be great. Maybe I should enlarge in. There we go. The comment there. That would be very interesting. I just don't think that's who it would be personally, but anything is possible, I guess, for sure. Anything is possible. But who else could it be? I mean, there's a lot of people that it could be, but we will get into that in a little bit. Let's see. I'm still trying to log into this thing because it's being dumb. Let's see. Donovan says, thematically as well, building upon the themes of the first movie, with Gunn saying that the world Superman lives in can still see kindness as old-fashioned, and Manchester Black is the very embodiment. I can see that. Critic Chris is here. Says, hello, my DC fans. And he crosses his fingers for Brainiac. Says, here as main baddie to perhaps be a bigger threat in Justice League film sometime later. I think that's what a lot of people would like to see, for sure. Also says, I'd love to see human villains besides Lex down the road. Morgan Edge, Inner Gang maybe, getting their hands on high-tech weapons or something. I know I saw someone else. Emo Nerd Girl's in here. What's going on, Emo Nerd Girl? It says, hey, nerds. What is going on? And let's see. Trayvon says, what a week. Trayvon says, what do me and 9/11 have in common? We're 24 years old now. That's wild. Man, you were born back in 2001. Making me feel old, kid. Making me feel old. That's for sure. So let me see if I can do something here. Try this real quick. And so, what I want to do today is, like I said, we're going to talk about a few things such as, that's not what I wanted to do. Why are you doing that? Stupid computers. We need to get rid of computers, I think. Computers are evil. I'm just kidding. We need to talk about James Gunn and some of the things he said about the upcoming project when it comes to the secret project that he has coming. But let me see if I can log into this now. I know. This is great television, isn't it? Oh, come on. Slow down me. There we go. I'm in there. Woohoo! There we go. All right. So, back to what I was trying to do. Let's get rid of that. All right. So, first up, let's move on to the... there it is. All right. So, James Gunn talks about meeting with the writer of a secret DCU project. Now, he's talked about this DCU project a few times now, and I will say this, I think it's very intriguing. I think this whole idea of having a secret DCU project is, well, bold, because what could it be? He says, I was just meeting with the writer and director of a forthcoming secret DCU project that we're doing, and they were asking us about how much VFX and how much it costs and how many VFX characters we can have, and then they were talking about the superheroes in the show, and I was like, the one thing you kind of got to be careful about is the superhero costumes, because they're really difficult to make. They're difficult to make look good, and they usually cost a lot more money than it does creating a CGI character. Now, that was from the podcast, the Peacemaker podcast that they do after every single episode. This is where he was talking about that. Look, what can we take away from this? First off, they're talking about superhero costumes. So there's going to be multiple superhero costumes in this, obviously. It seems like there's a possibility of superhero costumes, but also the ability to make them VFX. That's kind of what I'm picking up from this. So what kind of story, what kind of secret DCU project could this be? That's number one, which is very intriguing and interesting. Number two, we've heard Frank Grillo talk about the fact that he is going to be in this secret project. Is it the same project that he's talking about, or is it going to be The Man of Tomorrow? Because he talked about recently that he is going to be filming, the next season of Tulsa King, and then another film, and then he's going to be working on another DCU project. Is it this secret project, or is it Man of Tomorrow? There's a lot of questions to be asked here, and trying to figure out what the heck is going on, because if Frank Grillo's in this, I'm all for it. Like, Frank Grillo's been great in everything he's been in with the DCU. He wasn't in a lot of Superman, but he's been in a decent chunk of Peacemaker so far, and obviously he was pretty much one of the main characters of Creature Commandos, though he was just a voice. I'm all for it. But this is so intriguing. Asking about how much VFX and how much it costs and how many VFX characters we can have. So how many VFX characters they can have? Like, what are they doing? What could they possibly be doing? And then he was like, you got to be careful about is the superhero costumes, because they can be difficult to make. All right, so they're talking about, like, I just, what is this project? This is exciting to me. This is something that I sit here and I'm like, okay, look, here's what I when I sit back and think of all of the ideas and projects that they've announced, could it be any of those? And the only thing that could come to mind is the Authority. But he says they haven't been able to crack that. So I don't think it's the Authority. Plus, he would just say the Authority. He wouldn't say it's a secret DCU project. So what the heck is this movie or this project? I won't say movie because I don't think it's a movie. I think it's going to be a show. So what the heck is this show? What is it going to be? I want to know what all of you think this secret project is going to be. What do you think it is? What do you think this crazy idea is going to come to be? Like when is it going to be revealed even? That's the next question. When will they reveal this? This is the kind of stuff I like. It's one thing to have like someone like Kevin Feige from Marvel go up on stage and reveal, here's the next 14 movies in the next 10 years or 5 years, whatever it is. All right, yeah, that's fun. It's exciting. We see all these movies coming out. We can speculate what it all means. That's fine. But what's real exciting is something like this. Because we know it's DCU related. We know how interconnected James Gunn is making it all. But we have no idea what it is. And to me, that bumps the excitement level up to 11. Like, come on. You can't sit there and say this isn't exciting to not know what it is, yet want to know what it is. Like, I love the not knowing. It's like Christmas morning. You don't know what you're going to get, but you know you're getting something, and you know it's going to be cool. So, to me, I love it. Let me know in the comments what you think it could be. Who do you think the director and the writer is? Is it one person, the writer-director, or is it two different people? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, what are you guys saying over here? Hunter Iggy says, did you see what Sean O'Rourke posted? He said, this is the start, but expected Universal to jump in the water. And, well, the total mismanagement is of Warner Brothers and will be... I'm actually going to talk a little bit about that here shortly. So we'll talk, not Sean O'Rourke's comments, because I don't really care what he has to say, but I'll talk a little bit about that situation here for sure. Because there's some DC-related concerns, obviously. Donovan says, I think the secret show is the Authority. It has to be. Again, the way that James Gunn's talked about it is he says that he doesn't want other studios to steal his idea. He's already announced the Authority. So what, if he doesn't want people to steal the Authority, he's already announced the Authority. Plus he's also said he couldn't crack the Authority. So I don't know. I don't think it's the Authority. Mario Faith Warrior, salute bro. What's going on, man? How's it going? Donovan says it's the Authority, and I just saw a theory on Reddit that could literally connect them to the quantum chamber. It's possible. Again, I'm not saying it's not possible. Anything's possible. I just don't see, with the comments that James Gunn has made, why he would say, we can't crack the Authority. It's a secret project that I don't want another studio to steal, but they've already announced it, and then it's that. I don't see why they would do that. And then you say, what if he's bluffing because it's bigger than just the Authority as the main characters? That's a possibility. Again, that is a possibility, yes. Kevin Davis says, if those rumors are true about Paramount buying Warner Brothers, that's not a good thing. That's not a bad thing either. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Kevin says, James Gunn's DC Universe isn't going to matter if they get acquired. That's not true at all, Kevin. That's not true at all. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. Hosea, please keep ripping into your friends, Lethal Geeks. Hilarious. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys caught my latest video from yesterday. Comics Cuts and I sat down and had a great discussion about a video that the Lethal Geeks podcast posted that was just chock full of misinformation. And like I've said, my thing is I just want to point out the misinformation. I want to make sure that people are not misled. And that video was just chock full of misinformation that they did. What was my final tally? What was it? 16, 18, something like that. Total misinformation tally marks that I put on there. It was wild. Like, it was completely wild what they did through that video. And I at least went in with receipts. I went in and showed my proof for almost every single thing that I disputed. I showed proof of it, that they can't come back to me and say, no, you're wrong. Like, no, I put up proof, with research via the internet. Plus, I lived through it. I went through it all. I was there. I remember everything. So that's besides the point. It's a great video. Go check it out. It is a little long. I will warn you. It's about 30 minutes long. Comics Cuts and I really get into it, and we really discuss everything. We have a little fun with it, but it is well worth it. I was talking to Ben from Real Anarchy last night when he was watching it. He said it took him about an hour to watch it because he kept laughing and having to pause it while he was laughing because of things. So it was a good time. You should check it out. Mario says, maybe a terrific team show. I would all be for that. I would totally be all for that. Like that, yes. Please. Don't know how another studio could steal that, but I don't care. I would be all for that. Absolutely. Hosea says, what are those little aliens called on Young Justice Season 1? Is it the same alien that had the unfolding show? Oh. I haven't watched Young Justice probably 10 years. When, like, probably 2015, 2016, I ran through the first 2 seasons because those are the only good seasons. And then, like, it was off the air for a while and it came back. But I don't remember what they're called. Like, it's been a while since I watched them. But that's an interesting point. Critic Chris says it was a good video. Well, thank you, Critic Chris. Thank you. Rorschach's channel. Rorschach's channel. Chris Lehart, aka Critic Chris. Yeah, what the heck, dude? Like, come on, that's not cool. Not cool. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, let's just not do that. All right. So, moving on to the next thing. I don't know if you guys saw this little post that popped up today, but this was posted, this little photo from the set of Clayface with this little image right on the side here, over on the left side of a Batman symbol. Everybody was freaking out that, oh, look at this, it's the Batman symbol from Pattinson's Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman logo, look at that. And it kind of just rolled downhill for a good 3 or 4 hours today. People were freaking out about it. Oh my goodness, it's the DCU and the Reeds versus crossing out, it's merging. Oh my goodness, it's happening. And I just sat back at first and was like, guys, it's not happening. And I did some, like, I first looked at it, I was like, it's not even like completely the same logo. But then I was looking at it closer. I was like, that kind of looks like it could be photoshopped even onto that. Like, it doesn't even look great. And then somebody posted the script for the Batman Part 2 side by side by this. And then I was like, oh, that is definitely just photoshopped from the script to this. It looks like, people, whoever photoshopped it probably just like cut that out, put it over there, and kind of like, did a little finagling with the photo to try and make it not look like it's exactly the same. So I was just like, look, I don't think this is real. Like, it's definitely not real. Like, even if it was, it's probably just an Easter egg, but I don't believe it's real. So somebody asked James Gunn, and he says, although the trash can is from the set, I have a hard time believing the bat was put there by the art department. But if so, it never came across my desk. I don't have the time to okay every piece of set dressing. Now, here's the thing. The art department isn't going to put a bat logo onto the set if it's not like they're not going to just put a bat logo on the set for a movie that could be seen by millions and millions of people if it's not approved by James Gunn. They're just not going to do it because that could cause issues like it just did today. So it's one of two things. Either somebody was walking by, if it's a real sticker or something like that, somebody threw it up there and took a picture, or it's what I thought and think it's just photoshopped on there, which is really what I think it is. So that's just my belief. James Gunn is debunking it, so we'll go from there, or go with that. That's what I think is the thing. So, but let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you guys think. I don't think it's real. It's definitely not real after what James Gunn says. So there you go. Hosea says, "Are you gonna work for me there?" There we go. The Merge Bros. And Trayvon says, "That was a hoodwink if there ever was." All right. Then there's a big story this week. No, we're not going to get into this yet. We're not going to get into this yet because I don't want to talk about that yet. I do not want to talk about that yet. So we're going to go back here. And we're going to do this real quick. We're going to talk Peacemaker real fast. So Peacemaker, obviously episode 4 for season 2 came out, and it was excellent. I think it was a fantastic episode. Probably the weakest of the 4 for sure. Wasn't the best, but it was still a solid episode. And for me, I love the way it opened. It gave us this clue, or it gave us the reveal, not a clue, but the reveal of where the chamber came from. This little teeny alien that kind of looks like Kermit the Frog a little bit, I guess. So we get that right in the beginning. We now know Augie Smith is not all that smart. Peacemaker's asked, "Well, I thought your dad was smart. Where did the helmets come from?" And I like how he's just like, "Oh, well, that's a long story for another time," or something like that. He says something like that, which I also like. I like the fact that they're not going to explore that right now. I'm completely fine with that. We don't need everything revealed right now. So we got the door reveal or explained for the most part. Maybe we get more into it later through the episodes, but we don't need everything right now. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I liked that we got what we got so far. It's alien technology. What kind of alien technology is it? Who cares? It's interesting. Let's see where it goes. So we got that. But this whole episode really, to me, felt like it was more about Harcourt than anything else. The whole thing with Harcourt and Rick Flag Sr. and him coming to her apartment after she just was in another bar fight, trying to just beat her pain away or get her pain beaten away or whatever it is. That is what truly felt like it was the crux of this episode. And when they're having their conversations about her, for instance, like, "How you doing?" and "I know you must miss Ricky too," and all of this kind of stuff. To me, Frank Grillo does a fantastic job with portraying this character and giving off the emotion and stuff. And Jen Holland plays off of it great. But what he does so well is he brings Harcourt down and allows her to feel comfort right there. So whenever he gets to the ask, it's going to be almost impossible for her to say no, because of all the comfort that he brings in that scene. Because he could go in there and just say, "Look, you want your job back? This is what you got to do for me." And she's going to say no right away at that point, because it's just like, "Oh, no." But he goes in there in a way, and he starts talking about the life that she had and how, how close she was with his son and how difficult things have been for her. And he starts to sympathize with her and all that. Like, he just plays this game with her head. So when he says, "Look, I can give you everything you want, but you need to bring me the Peacemaker," she's more willing to do it because he is sympathizing with her. Whereas her friend Peacemaker, they've just been butting heads up to that point. So to her, yeah, her friend Peacemaker, it's her friend, but up to that point they keep butting heads. Whereas Rick Flag, he's being sympathetic and understands where she's coming from right now and is listening to her. And that's kind of, yes, she's still torn between either way, like either side, but it's easier for her to go that direction because it's what she wants and there's somebody sympathetic there. So I really, really liked that. Now, the whole ordeal going on with Economos, I loved what he did. I thought it was hilarious the way he handled everything and trying to hack into the door and just delaying everything. I thought that was funny. That was great. Economos was doing his work. Hilarious. We got what's his face? Little dude in green. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. But him fighting against Peacemaker in the woods. Fantastic seeing those two again fighting. Hilarious. Good times. Great action. Just it's this episode was a lot of fun. Again, it wasn't great, but it was fun. Then you had Michael Rooker, who I remember the first time I ever saw Michael Rooker was in Mallrats. And I don't know if you know this, but in Mallrats, there's a scene where he's like dancing around, not really dancing, but like practicing like fighting in a room, and like his towel falls off and you see his ass. And then there's this scene in this episode where he's basically half naked dancing around a fire. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, dude, like, come on. You're still like 70 years old doing the same crap you were doing back in the early 90s. What's going on here? But regardless, Michael Rooker is fantastic as, what is it? Red Saint, whatever. These names, I tell you, I'm terrible at remembering names. They're such obscure characters sometimes. It's ridiculous. But he does a fantastic job, and I love how Economos is just like, he's trying to kill the bird, and he just, boom, pushes him down and knocks him out cold. Love it. Absolutely love it. So this episode was a lot of fun. It was good. But I think next week's episode is really going to just amp it up a little bit. And then we get into the last 3 episodes that, well, James Gunn says are, like, huge. He hasn't let anybody else watch them. They're that big. So I'm really curious to see where it goes after that point, of course. I do have some theories. For me, my theories are this. One, I think there's a good chance that either Fleury, played by Tim Meadows, or Adebayo will find their way into this other dimension and will be the reason Peacemaker comes to the conclusion that it's not all sunshine and rainbows over there, if you know what I mean. That's number one. Number two, I think that if there is any chance of a huge, everybody keeps talking about Batman showing up in this Peacemaker season. If Batman shows up in this, if there's any Batman that shows up in this, there's only one Batman that shows up, and it will be that whatever causes this merger with Pattinson Batman. That's the only way that Pattinson... If there's a Batman, it will only be the Pattinson Batman. And you guys know I am not for the merger. I'm not for the idea of bringing him into the DCU. But if it were to happen, that's the only way it happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just telling you. If it happens, that's my theory. That is the only way it would happen. And I don't think Batman's showing up in this. That's number 2. Number 3, I do think that one of either Vigilante or Harcourt is killed. But I think the Harcourt death is going to be the other dimension Harcourt, but Peacemaker's going to think it's his dimension Harcourt, and it's going to be like a whole thing. So those are a couple of my theories that have just been kind of going on with this. But look, Peacemaker season 2, episode 4 was excellent. Again, probably the weakest of the first 4 episodes, but definitely still good. Can't wait to see where we go from here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. I saw a whole bunch of comments popping up, so let's see what you guys have to say. There it is. Sean O'Rourke says, "What's going on, Sean? I worked with set decoration department for 5 years on multiple projects. These guys will do all sorts of personal Easter eggs not approved by the directors." Yeah, I get that. But that is a little big. Now, again, here's the thing. That could be just a dumpster off to the side that isn't even going to be in the shot of the movie, or way off in the distance. Sure, that could be what it is. And because it got noticed, James Gunn could be calling them up right now and saying, take that shit down. So that's possible. That is possible. But I still don't think it means anything else than that. Trayvon says, I would love to know why some fans so desperately want the Batman in the DCU, even after James Gunn has said multiple times it isn't happening. Because they're dumb. Hosea says, Peacemaker, Leota, the Maz, Kanata answer about his dad's Peacemaker helmets. Oh, Maz Kanata. Yeah, he did. He was like, that's a story for another time. Well, James Gunn did say in the podcast that he has the answer. He knows what the answer is. He knows what the story is. It's just he's not telling it right now. So that's cool. I'm all for that. Trayvon says these slow episodes are on purpose, I believe. I mean, I don't think it was a slow episode. I thought it was a good episode. There was a lot. Again, I really think the crux of the episode was about Harcourt, which I thought was important. Because you need, like, sometimes you have to focus on different characters for a reason. Like, you have to. Hosea says, I don't think we'll see the alternate universe again until episode 6, and then it's all on. Hey, whatever. That's fine. Jose said, Peacemaker gave ads. Wait, we just did that. Critic Chris says, first film of Michael Rooker's I seen was Cliffhanger. He's a great actor. Let me rephrase what I said. The first movie I realized Michael Rooker was in was Mallrats. I know I saw other movies before Mallrats that Michael Rooker was in, but I didn't realize who this actor was. It wasn't until I saw Mallrats and later on I was like, oh, that was Michael Rooker in that. And then years later I would rewatch something like Cliffhanger or another movie and things like that I was like, oh, Michael Rooker was in that. Oh, Michael Rooker was in that too. That kind of thing. So. But honestly, I didn't even remember he was in Cliffhanger, to be honest with you. I don't remember much of Cliffhanger. I think I've seen it once, maybe twice in the 90s when I was younger. Not a big fan of that. Not that I wasn't a big fan of the movie, it just didn't do anything for me. Nico says, DC has the most ways of space manipulation. I guess so. I see you say Luthor Pocket Dimension, Peacemaker Imp Dimension Door, Flash Speed Force, New Gods Boom Tubes, Shazam Rock of Eternity. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. They really do. Hosea says, I remember Michael Rooker in The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Critic Chris says, I'd love a New Gods movie with Darkseid appearing. Maybe someday. Maybe. Hosea, I think we see an evil version of Corn Sweat Superman. That's a possibility. Trayvon, my theory, Kumail Nanjiani is Ted Kord Blue Beetle, not Booster Gold. Would be... I like that theory. I would not be against him being Ted Kord. I would not be against that. Nico says, Aquaman Atlantis. Can we get a 1A, the Merger Bros? Nico continues. Space portals are very popular in DC. Yes, they are. Hosea, one negative I have is the runtime. Anything under 45 minutes, I get sad. Yeah, well, it happens. Critic Chris, yeah, I'd see him in a 6th Day, then The Walking Dead before him being in the MCU. Yeah. All right. So, back to the stories of the day. All right. So this came out on the Howard Stern show just a couple days ago. Man of Tomorrow is set to begin filming in April 2026, James Gunn confirms. I'm creating the Superman sequel that we're starting to shoot in April or so. He continues, it's a story about Lex Luthor and Superman having to work together to a certain degree against a much, much bigger threat. So, everyone speculates, because it's a much, much bigger threat, that it's automatically Brainiac. That's what everybody speculates. And I get it. Everybody thinks, hey, obviously it's going to be Brainiac, right? Because it has to be. It has to be Brainiac, right? Because that's what everybody wants. That's not what I wanted to do. What am I doing? I tell you. So that's what everybody thinks. So because of that, they want to automatically just go with this idea and just run with it. But I ask the question, who else could it be? Like, honestly, who else could be the villain? Because there's more than just one villain. There really is. I don't have what I thought. Whoa, where'd I go? I disappeared. I disappeared. There's more than just one villain that it could possibly be. Now, I did ask for you guys to send some voicemails. So I want to play some of those. So this one is from Movie Talk Now. And let me make sure it's going to play the audio. Come on. I can't win. I can't win today. Nothing wants to work for me. Let's do this. Do that. Oh, no. No, don't show things. I just ruined everything. What is going on? Nothing wants to work. I just ruined everything. Yeah. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, everybody. I'm just losing my mind today. All right, so we'll try this again.
Hey Slav, Dave from Movie Talk Now, here to share my thoughts on who I think will be the villain for Man of Tomorrow. Personally, I think it's building up to be an STD that formed during the orgy in Peacemaker Season 2. Look forward to hearing your theory. Well, there it is, and he's in here. You just broke me. Yeah. I'm curious of what STD you think it could be. Maybe I don't want to know. Maybe I don't want to know. That is a very interesting thought for sure. Yeah. I don't know. Really, Ben's even in here laughing. That was good. I don't even know where to go with that. So maybe we just move on to the next one here. There we go. Let's see.
Hey Slav, this is Hope for Life. Just thought I'd let you know I think it's going to be Brainiac who is the main villain in Man of Tomorrow.
Again,
he might be working with possibly Bizarro.
Again,
or Parasite.
Ooh. Man, threw in a couple curveballs there at the end. Yeah, I think that's the going theory is it's going to be Brainiac. Now, again, I have a couple theories myself. We'll go over those in a minute. But Brainiac seems to be the big one. Bizarro, I've heard a couple people say Bizarro. And then Parasite. I've heard Parasite a few times as well, but Parasite is a good one. I do like that. We'll definitely talk about that. And then our final one from Trevon.
Hello, Slav. This is Trayvon Parnell, and I predict that the villains for Man of Tomorrow will either be Mongol or Mixia Spitlick. It won't be an Earth-based villain that will serve as the antagonist for Man of Tomorrow, and I firmly believe that Brainiac will be saved as the big bad of the Superman saga.
I love your pick for Mr. Mixapillic. Again, that's one that you hear a little bit, but not a lot. I love Mixapillic, though. I do love that one, Trayvon. So, but here, let's do this now. Let's get rid of that before I, once again, show everybody their email addresses that I didn't want to show. Movie Talk Now says, for this version of Lex to help Superman, the threat has to be huge. You're right. It's true. He does have to be huge. Critic Chris says, I can see that Brain and Brawn versus Brain and Brawn. Makes sense. Yes, very true. So, it's not posted on my website yet, but I do have an article that will drop that kind of explains some of my ideas of who it could be. So who could be the villain of the Man of Tomorrow? And this will be up probably tomorrow or the next day. So first up, I put Metallo. Now, he is the kryptonite-powered cyborg, also known as John Corbin. He is a cyborg whose kryptonite heart makes him one of Superman's deadliest foes. Now, what I think would be really interesting for this, because in DC lore there is an Earth X version of Metallo, they could make this where it's connected, because again, James Gunn keeps talking about how this Man of Tomorrow is very, very connected to that of Peacemaker Season 2. So I keep wanting to go back to the idea that this villain, I feel, has to be connected to this season. So if Metallo is somehow within this Earth X or this alternate dimension or whatever you want to call it, he could very well come out of that dimension into our dimension, or their dimension, and kind of go on this little rampage, reintroducing kryptonite into this dimension, into this world, and maybe the Lex Luthor of that dimension is the one who created him, and when he comes into this dimension, he sees this Lex Luthor, and maybe at first they're buddy-buddy, he's the one who helped breaks Lex Luthor out, or whatever it is. I don't know. Just kind of spitballing here. But I think Metallo would be a very interesting character, one that could very, very much take on Superman, and could utilize the intelligence of Lex Luthor to have to bring him down, take him down, but also give Lex the idea of utilizing and creating that power war suit. So keep that in mind. I think that would be an interesting one. Next up, obviously, is Brainiac. Again, I know everybody has said it. A lot of people have said it. Brainiac is one that makes a lot of sense. He's known as the Collector of Worlds, one of Superman's deadliest foes. He has a 12th level of intellect, blah, 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 blah. But how does he connect to this other dimension or this season of Peacemaker? Well, if he's a Collector of Worlds, could he somehow have the ability to travel interdimensionally? And could he somehow travel to this dimension and be trying to collect knowledge or this other dimension of some sort? I don't know. Just spitballing here. Different ideas. James Gunn does like to take things and change them up a little bit when he's writing and making ideas. And I'm just kind of spitballing what he could possibly do here. Just a thought. But I think that he's the easy direction to go. And look, I want to see Brainiac in live action as much as anybody else. And I don't think he's one that you just automatically throw into a Justice League movie. I always look at Brainiac as one that you kind of use like a Loki. You set him up in a movie, kind of like they did with Loki in the first Thor, and then he's in the big movie. Kind of like Loki went from Thor to Avengers. You kind of do Brainiac in a Superman movie, and then boom, Brainiac can be in a Justice League movie villain, or a Justice League villain in a movie. You know what I'm saying. So you could do something like that. Then you have Mr. Mxyzptlk. I love Mr. Mxyzptlk. I think he's such a fun villain. He is right up James Gunn's alley for the type of character he would utilize. Would this be who he would use in a team-up movie? No, but he fits the interdimensional realities of things. He's a dimensional trickster. He would fit with the Peacemaker vibe right now, where he's traveling different dimensions. It would work in that way. That's how I kind of justified it in my head. But does he really fit the aesthetic in the way that it works when it comes to needing Lex Luthor to be in a war suit? Not so much. However, he is a prankster. He does like to use magic. He defies all logic. He likes to warp reality, which could cause Lex Luthor to maybe need a war suit. Maybe he warps reality in a way. Maybe he brings what's his name, Bizarro, back into it. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways that you can possibly do this. If I remember correctly, I think it was the animated series. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. But I think there was an episode or two where Mxyzptlk and Mxyzptlk and Bizarro worked together. So maybe something like that. I don't know. Just again, I'm just spitballing here, guys. I'm spitballing. So that's a thought. But I do love Mxyzptlk. I have always liked him. Another great one is Parasite. Parasite is absolutely terrifying. Just by touch, he can drain somebody's life force and knowledge and superpowers, and it would totally weaken Superman, thus giving the reason why Lex Luthor needs a war power suit. So that, to me, I think would be very, very interesting, giving the reason that the two of them need to team up to go head-to-head against someone like that. Could fit the interdimensional side of things because maybe he's a byproduct of a twisted Earth X, something like that, and he escapes into our dimension. However, again, there's different ideas and aspects. Look, we saw a little weird alien. Maybe that little weird alien was a little version of what Parasite could be. Maybe that was just a kid parasite, and them opening and closing these doors constantly has alerted an adult version of that, which is a parasite. I don't know. Just an idea, just a thought. Again, you know how James Gunn likes to change things up sometimes, and he could very well do something like that. But sometimes he doesn't. We'll see. And then, where's that? Did I not put him on there? I thought I did have him on there. I guess I didn't put him on there. Oh, no, there he is. Then my honorable mentions. General Zod, I don't think they're going to do General Zod. I just don't think you should do him right now. Maybe in the future, but I don't think you should do him right now. But it's a possibility. Mongol is an interesting one. I did see Rio Anarchy say Mongol is my guess. That is an interesting one. I just don't think Mongol is right now. I think that's down the line I don't think they're going to go cosmic, like really, really cosmic yet. Like Brainiac would be a little bit cosmic. I think he would be somewhat cosmic. And I get that like Supergirl's going cosmic in her movie, and there's going to be some cosmic elements with her. But I don't think they're going to go like crazy cosmic with somebody like Mongol. So I don't think they're going to go that yet. Like I said, Bizarro Superman. I don't think Bizarro Superman is ever going to be a main villain of a movie. But it would make sense if it was the Superman, the Ultraman who turns into Bizarro, because he would have some hatred in him because of what Lex Luthor did to him and hatred for what Superman did to him. So that would make sense, but I just don't think so. Lobo's an honorable mention, but I don't see the connection at all. And Lex Luthor, again, could technically be the big bad in the movie, and then there is a secondary bad guy that is not really the big bad threat. It's a possibility as well. But that's just some of the things that I thought could happen in this movie. that I thought would be interesting. I encourage you, like I said, this will be up. Probably it might even be up tonight. I may just throw it up there tonight. But definitely check out slavsfreetalk.com. Either tonight or tomorrow, latest Sunday, you'll see this article. You can kind of read over my reasonings why I think each one of these could possibly be the villain for the Man of Tomorrow. Wrong thing. Go back over there. And let's see what all of you kids are saying in the comments. Let's see. What did I just do? I broke something. I keep breaking things. Critic Chris says, I feel Gunn will throw a curveball before we know it on who it'll be. You know, like I said, I if they're planning on shooting this movie, like he said, what is it, April, like shooting around April, we're going to have an answer for this by, like, the casting, most likely by December, January. Like, that's when we're going to start to hear casting for a lot of this stuff. Because, like, we know the main cast. We know Superman, Lex, you know, we know the big cast. But the casting of the villain, that's going to have to come out probably within the next 4 to 5 months. If that. Like, it may be even sooner. Like, once he's good on the script, because I know he's, like, you know, cleaning up the script, he's going to go into casting mode. So, yeah, we're going to know sooner than you guys think who this villain's going to be, which will be exciting. Critic Chris says, Vern Troyer would have been perfect as that character. Sad he passed away. Nico says, Earth X versus DCU. Holy crap. What if that's what it is? What if it's, what is that, Crisis on Earth X type of thing? What if that's what it is? Nobody's thought of that. Except for Nico here. Mario Faith Warrior says White Martians. That could be fun. Critic Chris says Metallo I can see being built by Intergang Morgan Edge to rival Lex over Superman. That would be interesting. Movie Talk Now says Mongol would be so good. I'd love War World. Yeah, I just don't see them going that cosmic yet. I think they'll get there. I just don't think it's gonna happen yet. I'd like it to. I just don't think yet. Movie Talk Now says nice guess, Nico. Yeah, that's such a how has nobody else said that? Like, how have I not thought of that? That's such a good guess. Like, it doesn't have to, like, obviously the movie's called Man of Tomorrow, but how has nobody thought that it could be a play on Crisis on Earth X? Like, where they're fighting the alternate versions of themselves from that Earth, that dimension. I mean, it'd be wild for them to do that. However, what if the secret project... Holy crap, no. Because it would have to come out before that. But what if that secret project is set on that planet, or on that Earth, to help set up that movie? I don't know. Man, my mind's spinning now. That'd be wild, though, if they were just like... The reason why they're not announcing that project is because they don't want Marvel to steal it in preparation for their... I'm just saying. Be interesting. Critic Chris says that would be sweet. Yeah, it would be sweet. But is James Gunn that ballsy to do it? That's the question. Is he that ballsy to do it? I just don't know. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is this right here. Oh, wait. I got to pull this up. So the last thing I wanted to talk about... I lost my comments. There they are. I'm such a mess today. I keep saying I need a producer. I just can't pay anybody, but I need a producer. Movie Talk Now says the animated movie Crisis on Two Earths was really self-contained multiverse story. It can be done. Yes, it could be done. All right. So I saved this for last because I feel like this could be a really interesting little tidbit of a story. So Paramount Skydance prepares Ellison back, David Ellison, who is kind of like the big guy, the guy with money who owns Paramount basically, has backed a bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. So basically Paramount, they're basically saying Paramount wants to bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. This came out a few days ago. Actually yesterday. Came out yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and specifically discuss the intricacies of the purchase and what it could mean for Warner Brothers Discovery. First off, we don't know all the intricacies. We don't know the financial side. We don't know if Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders would accept it. We don't know if it would even pass through regulations or anything like that. There's a lot of hoops that it would need to go through to happen. Plus, there's a chance that other companies may jump in. If they see, oh, it's free game to bid on Warner Brothers now, let's go. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. But we know, as fans of DC, we see it on social media. We see the YouTube channels. We see the crazy people going on. This means James Gunn is done for. This means that his DC universe isn't going to last. This means James Gunn is going to be fired. These people are delusional. We've seen people actually say even that, oh, we need to get loud and start asking for the Snyderverse again. Remember how well that went the last time, guys? Do you remember when the merger with Discovery and Warner Brothers was happening and everybody was getting loud? Restore the Snyderverse, restore the Snyderverse. Well, where's it at? Where's it at? It didn't happen. Why? Because it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. So just stop with that. But let's look at the DC side of things, okay? Let's just take a step back. Let's take a beat and look at the James Gunn of it all. So James Gunn, currently co-CEO of DC Studios, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers Discovery. Remember, it is its own entity under Warner Brothers Discovery. So if Paramount Skydance did find a way to bid enough money and it all went through and they purchased and it happened and it merged together with Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery. It all merged together. Or another company. Let's just say it could be Universal. It could be Sony. It could be Disney. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't be Disney. But whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's just say it happened. It would all come together and and DC would still be its own little entity bloop, 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 over here. You would still have James Gunn, Peter Safran running it right here. You'd still have Warner Brothers Pictures over here. What is it, Abdi and DeLuca? They run that right over here. You'd still have all the other divisions underneath them. Now, yes, they do like to kind of, when a merger happens, they like to get rid of the redundancies. So they would probably get rid of some people. But the one thing that isn't redundant is at DC Studios, because it's own little entity. There's nothing like it over in Paramount. So they're not going to be like, well, we got to get rid of them because we have something like it. They don't. So it's going to come in, and they're going to be like, well, we have a DC Studios. We have people who run it. Let's take a look at it. So that's number one. That's what will happen there. So they're going to take a look at DC Studios. Now, barring anything terrible happening at DC Studios, and when I say terrible, I'm saying terrible reviews, terrible, outcomes at the box office, Just terrible, terrible, terrible thing, one after another for the next couple years, because any purchase that's going to happen, it's going to take probably 18 to 24 months to go through. So if they bid, it's probably not going to happen till the end of this year. Then the approval process and everything, it's probably not going to be until 2028 at the earliest that it goes through. So let's take a beat and say, okay, so between now and when that happens, if everything goes smooth for DC Studios, they're making money, people reception for these movies and TV shows are well received and it's going great, why would they come in and say, you know what, James Gunn and Peter Safran, you're doing a good job, but get the hell out of here? They're not going to do that. That's dumb. Now, that's not to say that Ellison might not like James Gunn. He might just say, you know what, I don't like James Gunn. I don't like the way he smells. And he may want to get rid of him. That's a possibility. Not saying that's not possible, but it is. It is very well possible. But he seems like he could be a smart businessman. So I don't think he would do that. Now, he could also sit there and say, you know what? I have a better guy in mind to run DC Studios than James Gunn and Peter Safran. And you know what? I just want my guy there. I just want him. That's another possibility. But again, if he's a smart businessman, and for the next couple years before a deal would get completed, it's win after win after win, or even if it's win-win, kind of win, or not so great win-win, he's still going to sit there and say, look, you got more wins than losses, because that's what studios do. The smart businessman would not say, you're gone. He would sit there and say, okay, let's continue to see how this plays out, and let's see where it goes. Because that's what a smart business person does. So, is James Gunn in danger of losing his job because of a potential merger from Paramount Skydance? No, I don't think he has anything to worry about right now. He just needs to focus on doing what he's doing. Not to mention that Peter Safran has a hell of a resume. A hell of a resume. He is doing a great job, not just, with him and James Gunn right now, but you take a look at like the Conjuring series that he's done and a lot of the other films that he's done prior to all this. Like, he does a really, really good job. You're not going to want to fire and get rid of someone like Peter Safran. And then you have James Gunn, who is one of the most bankable comic book directors, filmmakers in the industry. So you don't come in here and say, you know what, you've made hit after hit after hit after hit in the comic book industry. We have a comic book movie division, and you know what, get the hell out of here. That's not how it's going to work. Now, there may come a time where, oh, your contracts are up, thanks, but no thanks, we're going to move in a different direction, but we'd still like to work with you down the line in some way. Sure, that could be a possibility. But they're not going to come in. I'm telling you, this whole idea that, oh, they're going to come in and just fire them is just idiotic. It makes no sense. These people who think like this have no common sense. And then finally, the one thing that I want to say on this as well is they just rebooted a DC universe. Okay? So this sale goes through. Paramount comes in. We're just going to say it's Paramount. Paramount comes in. And they say, you know what? We know you just rebooted in 2025, but sorry, James Gunn, you got to go. Any new person that comes in there is essentially going to be rebooting again anyways, because they're not going to want to continue what James Gunn was doing. Look what happened with Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada came in and he didn't do a full reboot, but he was trying to change everything that was set up prior. He should have just done a cut and reboot, but he didn't. He was trying to do it the wrong way. James Gunn did it pretty much the right way. So he was doing it the right way when Hamada did it the wrong way. So if they brought somebody else in, they would do the same thing. They would come in and cut it off, and then start fresh and new again. And that would be a terrible, terrible idea when you just did it in 2025. So then you're saying do it again in 2028, 2029? Like, that's idiotic. That is terrible business. But these people who keep saying things, oh, well, Paramount's going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. That means James Gunn's gone. His days are numbered. The DCU's going to die. It's over. It's over with. It's it. These people don't think. They don't use their head. All they run off is emotion. They don't sit there and think logically. They don't sit there and sit back and say, you know what? What makes sense? How does it make sense? Why does it make sense? Well, let's take a look at what happened with David Zaslav. Because when Zaslav came in, he sat back and did what I just said. He looked at what was going on with DC Films and said, whoa, this is not good. There are issues here, 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 and here, and we need to put a stop to the issues. And it's going to be better if we just cut and run just cut and run. Like, it's bad. So let's create a studio and let's start fresh and new. And let's hire people to start fresh and new. And that was the right move that Zaslav did. And then he hired 2 people in Safran and Gunn to start fresh and new. Because what was going on before was terrible. What he did was a good business move. When new owners come in, they're going to sit back and take a look at everything. And they're not going to just act all willy-nilly and fast and just do things quickly. Do you remember how long it took Zaslav when he came in to make these decisions? He didn't just make them fast. He didn't just come in and fire and fire and fire and fire. Like, it took him a couple years to make these moves, to make these decisions, to do the things. Maybe he should have gone a little faster. Maybe Warner Brothers wouldn't be where it's at right now. But he still sat back because you need to figure out what's going on and find the right way to move and do things. You can't just do things because it's, oh, well, let's come in, let's just clean house. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen that way. I'm telling you. All you people out there who don't like Gunn because he didn't restore the Snyderverse, or he fired Henry Cavill. It's not going to go down the way you think it's going to go down. It never does. I don't know if you realize this, but all of you people who hashtag Henry Cavill Superman, restore the Snyderverse, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, with the exception of one time, when has anything that you've wanted to have happen ever gone your way? It doesn't, because you're idiots. You're complete idiots. Because you don't know anything about the industry. It's not going to go that way. Sorry to be blunt, but it's true. It's true. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Even those of you who are on the YouTubes, sitting there saying, I've been saying for years that they're going to get sold. I told you that Warner Brothers was going to get sold. Yeah, we heard you. You kept saying, oh, they're going to get sold within a month. I'll tell you, they'll be sold within a month. Well, that was 2 years ago, dude. You said that 2 years ago. And now, they're just getting bid on. Still doesn't mean they're going to get sold. But even if they do get sold, you just look like a complete idiot because, well, you've been saying it nonstop for 2 years. It's going to happen in a month. Like, you don't look smart. You were just saying what everybody else was saying. I was even saying it. I knew that it was going to happen eventually. The one thing that I did know, though, is that it wasn't going to happen like you said. The one thing I did know is that it wasn't going to cost, and it isn't going to cost James Gunn his job. Because I understand how things work. But regardless, that's what I wanted to lay down. I wanted you all to understand what's happening. Went on a bit of a rant there, I know. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are you guys saying over here? And I did it again. What the heck is going on with me? There we I broke it again. Movie Talk Now says, I hope this merger doesn't happen. We don't need more monopolies. We need competition. I do support merging of the streaming apps, though. That can be done without company mergers, however. I agree. I absolutely agree on both fronts. But I said months and months ago, maybe even like a year ago, this was inevitable. This stuff is inevitable. We're going to see huge conglomerates like this. It's going to happen, and it's unfortunate. It's just, there's not enough money, I guess, to go around for all these different studios, and it's just a shame. The streaming apps, I honestly think it's going to come down to probably just like 3 or 4. I think it's going to go, eventually what's going to happen is we're going to go back to how pre-COVID was for streaming apps, essentially, where we're going to have like 5 of them, 4 of them maybe, as well. I think that's where we're eventually going to get back to that, but it's all going to be condensed, and there's going to be partnerships, kind of like how there was a Hulu where it was like Disney, Fox, and there was another partnership with that, wasn't there? I can't remember. But, it's going to be like a partnership with them. And because we're already starting to see that kind of stuff try to happen. Like Paramount and Warner Brothers were at one time, weren't they together? Like you can bundle HBO Max and Paramount Plus, I think. So we're already starting to see that kind of stuff happen. And I think eventually they're just going to say, why don't we just merge this stuff together? Like, why don't we just make one app where all this stuff is? I think that's going to happen eventually. It just would make sense. Critic Chris says, I'm waiting for you-know-who to be all over this. I don't know who. I know who. Because there's many of I know who's. I'm sure they all have been all over this. Trayvon says, Access Industries, Warner Music Group. Not sure what that means. So what are you saying? There you go. Warner Music Group's parent company is my wild card option for Warner Brothers. Oh, okay. Kevin Davis says, David Zaslav isn't concerned about Warner Brothers. He just wants the money and leave the company in somebody else's hands. Okay. I mean, if that's his concern, that's his concern. But they're not going to, like I said, as I was saying here, it's not going to affect James Gunn at all. Trayvon says, after Disney bought out Fox, they essentially kept Fox Searchlight Pictures intact, just took the Fox name off. Yes. Yeah, I think it's just called Searchlight, isn't it? It says Searchlight Pictures now. Movie Talk Now says, let's restore the Snyderverse so Batman can die in Justice League 3. What a way to start a universe. Yeah. Critic Chris, they know Snyderverse isn't coming back. They're out to ruin Gunn and his career now, and it's pathetic. Kevin Davis, Dave Ellison is a Republican trying to please Trump administration, so I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if Warner... there we go. If Warner Brother employees that push woke or political agenda content be let go by Dave Ellison. I don't think there's going to be any political motivation behind what he does there. Because here's the thing: if they're going to push, look at it this way. I don't want to get political here, but I will a little bit. Look, the political landscape has changed drastically over the last couple years, specifically in Hollywood and the way things are made. If you take a look, movies, television shows, things like that have kind of moved away from the quote-unquote woke agendas and ideals. And because of that, take a look, for instance, like James Gunn stuff. There's no quote-unquote wokeness in his stuff for the most part. Not that I've ever seen. So Dave Ellison comes in. Yes, James Gunn, from what I understand, I don't believe he is a quote-unquote a Republican. I don't think he is. But if Dave Ellison comes in, he's not going to fire James Gunn because he's not a Republican if he's not. Now, if there was a executive or filmmaker that was going out of their way and just making strong content that is very left-leaning and would not listen to the orders of the higher ups and saying we don't want to do this, if that was their orders, like don't make this kind of stuff, then yeah, he would probably let them go. But if that wasn't an order, if that wasn't something that was the initiative of the company and they were fine with them making that kind of stuff, then he's not going to let them go. I wouldn't say that at all. Movie Talk Now says James Gunn is a perfect example of a non-political director. He is clearly left-wing, but he never shows it in his work and in public discourse as a co-CEO. Like I said, like I've never seen it in his work. So that's even like, and you know, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's work, but even in Zack Snyder films, I don't see it. I think the closest you see anything like that is maybe Sucker Punch, maybe, because it was in that I wouldn't even say that. It was just, you know, him empowering women, and I wouldn't even say that's anything, because why not show women being strong like that? That's no big deal. So yeah, there you go. Critic Chris says, yep, same with Zack Snyder. There you have it. So he agrees too. See? All right. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will be figuring out what next week's topic is. Now, guys, Monday, I am not going to have a show on Monday. I am lucky enough to go see The World of Hans Zimmer on Monday night. So I will be going to a concert on Monday to listen to the beautiful sounds of Hans Zimmer music. So I'm excited about that. So I will be there Monday night listening to awesome music. I can't wait. You guys have no idea how excited I am for that. It's been a while since I've gotten to hear like an orchestra type of music. And I know it's more than just an orchestra. Like, it's not even like an orchestra setting. It's in a big arena too, which is awesome. Unfortunately, Hans Zimmer's not there. He's not directing the orchestra. It's a lot of the people who he's worked with will be there, but he's not there. But regardless, it's his music, so I'm all about it for sure. So I think it's gonna be great. But so I won't have a show Monday. Tuesday I won't be able to have a show. If I get around to it, I might try and record something to post on Monday if I get around to it this weekend. But I will be back next Friday with a Watchtower, so be on the lookout for that. And I will post something for more voicemails once I figure out what the main topic will be, so be on the lookout for that. But with that all, guys, it's been a fun one, so I will catch you all later. See ya.